Hey everyone, Niels here from Dingy. Today I want to start a new video series where we implement an actually real design that we received in our consultancy work, the one I'm sharing right now. It's a simple website. It's about a product, hardware product. It will have all of the different elements that websites have these days, like interesting stages and overlaying elements and blurs and all of these sort of things. Really beautiful design. And I want to take you along for the ride. So we're going to do everything that you're going to do when implementing layout and a good chunk of HTML. So what that means is what we already have is the website set up, like all of the content is coming in from a CMS. We have most of the markup. And so there's like a basic scaffolding going on. And so this video is intended to close the infamous designer-developer gap. So for everyone who is tasked with coding a Figma design, or like I'm not going to do anything Figma special. So also, by the way, I'm actually sure that there's things that I'm going to do on Figma where Figma pros will probably shiver a little bit and say something like, Niels, there's a funky tool for that. I'm sure there is, but I don't want to get into that. I want to just show you how to look at a design initially. That's step one. That's this video today. Like look at the design in a structured way, figure out how to make it, what are the design tokens, make a plan for slicing it up. Then in the next video, we're going to take the extracted design tokens that we're going to identify today, and we're going to set them up in a Tailwind configuration that will hopefully help us to make the whole website as fluid as possible. So even though we're using Tailwind, I want to show you a way that I set up websites that they hopefully need like the least amount of breakpoints possible. So we're going to do these things where type, font sizes, text sizes just grow in accordance to the viewport size fluently, and they're not going to jump at the small, medium, and large breakpoint. Same thing for spacings. And then we're also going to talk about colors. And once we have those design tokens, we're going to start and look at the design file again. So today's design file checkup is to understand the basic design tokens like type, spacings, and colors. And then once we have that, we're going to come back and look at individual components and make a plan together on how to make them reusable, so we can do stuff like a little sneak peek ahead maybe. We're going to look at the stage and how that's pretty similar, but it has different stuff going on. And we're going to talk about how to make that so you don't have to repeat yourself all the time. All right, let's get into it. So this is the design as we got it. And I want to stress that many things that I'm going to discuss today are maybe not necessarily needed always. It's just the experience that we have from 10 years of making websites is many technical solutions exist to properly hand off a design from, Figma to the developer tools and stuff like that. So I'm talking about text styles, color tokens, the dev handoff mode in Figma. So I know all of that stuff exists, but this is not what this video is about. This is not a how to use your tools in an intricate way. This is more of a video trying to share perspectives from designers to developers and vice versa. So when we look at this design file, my first impression was, wow, amazing design. I love it. This looks really friendly and approachable. I'm looking forward to making this, right? And then, as you might have experienced before, and this is certainly my experience, is that when you zoom in, right, and you get into it, and then you start to notice stuff. I'm actually going to go on that other design because I did some things already in preparation for this video. So looking at this is awesome. There's like a huge image and it's nice. You know, like the face is not overlapped by the text and the pricing table jumps in here like that. And it's just about, you know, on top of the sunny spot of the grass here. And cool. Like that's all of the stuff that designers love to do because they can. They can because they are on a fixed frame, right? Like they're on a fixed frame size. They just drag up this whole thing. Let's check. It's probably like 1512 pixels wide. Sure. That's one screen size on the planet. So yeah, but I mean, this is one fundamental thing that we always have to keep in mind and that I'm going to talk about in this video series a lot is the fundamental difference between a designer working on a fixed frame size on Figma and the website that you're going to make in a browser that is never the same screen size. And so what I'm trying to get at with all of this is understand the intention that the designer had with their design instead of making it pixel perfect. This is what we're going to look at today, starting with text sizes, spaces, and colors. So let's go through it. Whenever I scroll over a design for the very first time, then I literally just take a stroll. I'm like, oh, okay, so there's a big headline here. It's white. There's a bit of a contrast issue here. Okay, fine. And then there's this. There's a similar, probably, squinting your eyes at it, probably similar font size. Here's a smaller one. Here's an even smaller one. This could be the same size, I guess. Not sure. Possible. There's another one here, and it's in a different color. Now we have buttons. Is this one muted, or is this... like, what color is this? It's definitely not the same color as that one. Then there's pink. We have a divider line. Is this the same font? Yeah, it might be you know, right? Like this is what I'm doing when I look at a design like that. Like first of all, I'll do a run to check out the text sizes and to the colors and to get a feel for how many different text sizes are there, for example. I prepared on the homepage, I prepared a little bit something that I like to do when going through these sort of things. So right here, I started to work through the spacings and the font sizes. Let's get into the homepage where I prepared a little bit something for you to see where I'm getting at. To see annotations, that's a thing in Figma, we got to get out of presentation mode. So what I did, basically, as we just discussed, going through the design for the very first time, I pressed Y on my keyboard, or down here, there's an icon that's called annotation. Pretty useful thing to do what I did with these white boxes over here. If the annotation tool is hidden, I think comment is the default. So I just switch it over to annotation. You can just press Y. If you press Y, then you get this funny little thing over here, and you can just click on any element. Like it doesn't even care about groups anymore. You just click on it. You can write something if you wanted to. You can even like have category tags and all of that stuff. Super awesome for a design handoff. Please use it. But what we're going to do today is just quickly say add property and then font size. And so I did that on all of these elements, like these white boxes just start to appear right away. And now you can see that what comes out of this is by default, or in this design file, I'm actually not sure what the default is, but it says 2.75 rem for this font size. So I think if you switch over to developer mode and then you get code settings, like you can set this to pixel here, and then those values will switch over to pixel. Like if that's more comfortable, I think that's what we're going to go with today, then that's also fine. But the goal is to be able to judge how many different font sizes we have. So here we have a 44 pixel, we have a 24, 16, 24 again, 44, 24, 145.425, well, we're gonna round that, I guess. 16, 44, 24, and a body size small. Okay, cool. There's an interesting one too. Yeah, let's stick with this one for a little bit because this is also This is real life stuff. Like, why does this say this now? And the reason for that is that if you go back to design mode, like I added the properties font size and font over here, and both say static title large font size, right? And then you go to typography and you see that it says M3 title large emphasized. Okay. We didn't see, like if you just click out of, you don't select anything, and then you see the text styles over here, like all of that stuff, right? And on Figma, whenever there's a slash, then it makes a folder. So all of these folders are here for text styles and color styles, but we're not seeing static. So where is this coming from? If we go back here and we check it, then it says that this comes from Material 3 Design Kit. So this is an external library. It's not even linked here. So this is like the designer probably just grabbed this from another design file, pasted it in here, and forgot to change the text style. And this is the sort of stuff that I'm talking about. Like this happens all the time. And this is not, like I'm not blaming the designers here. Like this is not what I'm doing. Like I know that the designer for this particular file had next to no time budget to make it. And I'm very impressed of the overall result that he managed to put together in the little time that was available to him. And in that sense, like these things can happen. Like that's just life, you know? So tech specs and design handoff tools, that's all fine. But I'm advocating for a little willingness to read between the lines. So this font size, we kind of don't, like, let's unlink it and then, oh, it's linked again and then it's for both. So it's 22, fine, but yeah. So it's not coming through this annotation here. So we have a 44 and a 14 right here. Okay, so this is what I do. Like I try to understand how many fonts, text sizes are there, and with the goal to have as the different number of text styles should be as little as possible. I don't want 12 different text sizes, right? Like ideally I want 4, maybe 5. Let's see with what we get away in the end. And so let's scroll up and look at something that I prepared for that. So again, I'm sure there's very smart plugins and auto tools and AI stuff, maybe even. But so what I did was I just looked at the different numbers, like checking how many different values do we have here. And then I just made like a quick collection up here that we can look at now. So we have this gigantic font that is only used in the footer here, and I think in the headline there. Oh, that's even 2 different sizes. So those 2 different font sizes I wouldn't even include in a design token. I probably just set them in code. You can, I don't know, make it Giganto 1, Giganto 2. But so we'll just have that. And then we have what's probably going to be something like the H1 in our code. Like this is probably, yeah, text 2XL if we talk in Tailwind names. Then we have, or we just have XL actually. We have XL, L, medium, normal, and then we have small. And as far as I could see, there's a couple text bits that had something between 14 and 20, like a 17 or something. But in those cases, I would argue that's an error. Like that was not intentional. And I'm sure, like being a designer myself, the goal also for the designers is to keep stuff consistent, because consistency is pretty. Consistency is easy on the eyes and people want consistency. So if you see stuff like that, then ask the question, was this intentional, or is this maybe just a slip up? You know, is this maybe something that slipped through the cracks? So I would say we have 16 as the normal. That's pretty standard. Then we have a small, we have a medium, large, XL, and a ridiculous. So that's what we have for the text sizes. And now let's look at spacings. And do something very similar. I think you probably know where I'm going with all of this. So we have our inventory of font sizes. I'm very happy with that we just have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an extra one. So that's kind of cool. Now with spaces, I made these funny cubes, and I'm just going to say it again. I'm sure, very sure, that there are more fancy tools to do what I did with the cubes. But let me explain. Let's look at the design first before we look at what I did here with those cubes. The way I started doing this is like, let's look at the original over here, right? So, okay, so I'm just going to explain super quickly what I did over here. So in design mode, I literally made a square, an impressive square. And I just started to put that here, and then I went like, so there's a space. Okay. And roughly, like really again, like nothing has to 78 by 78, sure, why not? Okay, so, and then I was like, oh, there's a space here. Okay. Oh, this is like on a top layer. So let's go somewhere else. But like, so, there's another space here. 15, 16, that's a bigger one. All right. And so I'm trying, again, as with the text sizes, I'm just trying to understand in a visual way, what was the designer's intention? Like what are the different steps that they had in mind when designing this? Because no designer goes and just, like places stuff completely randomly on the page. Because again, that's just not very pleasing to look at. And so I'm trying to find the systematic behind the spacings. So I would argue that these spaces, like the spacing from the heading, like the padding of a section, sort of from the section start to where the heading of that section is, that's probably supposed to be the same. And then this is also the same, right? Like this spacing between a headline and the intro text should probably always be the same. And then we have like this space to the content of stuff. Let's see, but so here is the space is bigger. I mean, those things have a padding in itself. Let's add that. Okay, so that's probably too big. So here I would say we have a bigger one, a smaller one, right? And here we have an even smaller one. Here, like that. And this is, see, like this doesn't even really match up, but I would say that it's probably a good idea to have like the similar spacing up here and there. And then you can see like this is way too big. And so this is probably just, like the designer being quick about the job, like making all of this stuff. Like if we would make this now in a very developer-y way, then we would have like we would have a spacing here, and then we would have like these things in a very systematic way, and then they would have the same thing and do like that. This is what we're trying to make. This is not what the designer did in this file, because again, they were trying to get the job done. And so this is what I did yesterday. And after going through the entire file and like having a feeling for how many different sized cubes I had, I went up here and I made a component. I went up here and made a component with different variants that just have a different color, and I just named them in a different way. And so this is not 10, by the way, these are 9 different ones, because I started at 2. Why, Niels, did you start at 2? Nobody starts to count at 2. Because it's always good to have a backup slot. Like if you start at 1 and then you realize I need a smaller one, then renaming all of that will be super, super annoying. And so I just, as a backup, like I can always go 11, right? But if I started at 1, then I can't go -1 or 0 or like, so I started at 2. Don't judge me, do whatever you want, but this is what I did. And so I have 9 spacing tokens now, and they look sort of like that. Between 5 and 6, as you can already see here, the difference is not so big. So maybe when we get to the coding part, we might even decide to take out 5. Because, is this really important that these are differently, like that they both exist? I don't know. So let's look at the design file quickly and see what I did. So I kind of cleaned up after my initial effort of getting my initial feel after placing all the cubes. I just replaced them with the component. And then you get this. Then you get this sort of overview. And I really like this. You can see like here's these little imperfections, but I kind of decided to just go with a 7 because an 8 is way too big. And so this is going to be the space of 7. Why this is cool is that you can just have this design open next to your browser or code editor or however you have your windows arranged, but like you can have this open at all times. And when you're working on the design, like you're entering the paddings and the margins now, then you don't have to use one of the, I don't know even how many different spacing tokens that Tailwind offers or that you make up yourself. Like, I only have 9. So I'm only going to use those 9. And if I do that, then I can update those design tokens in the future and the whole website can be more lofty or more compact. And it can do that in relation to all of the different ones. So what I mean with that is if we go in and we say in the future, oh, this component, this could be a little bit more compact or like the entire site could be a little bit more compact, then this component, if we change all of the spacing tokens in our definition to be a bit smaller, then 5 will be smaller in relation to 5, 6 will be smaller, 7, and so on. And so, like, what we will end up with is that even if we change the tokens all to be a little bit smaller, then this still will be a little bit bigger of a space than up here, and this will be a little bit smaller than there. And it's just awesome to work that way. And this is the fluid part that I've been talking about. And this is actually even more exciting than to be able to change the design tokens in the future. Now that we know that it was the designer's intention to have a bigger space on the side than on the top, for example, or like an even smaller space from this text to the box itself. Now that we know that, we can safely assume that this design principle will probably also apply to smaller screens. And as you might have noticed, there's no mobile design. Didn't get one, happens in real life. And it's upon us now to make a good guess, a good initial guess of like, we're going to talk to the designer, of course, but like, I don't want to be complicated. I want to get going. I want to have them work on important stuff. And so I'm going to try and make this fluid and responsive on small screens and all of that. And as soon as I have questions for specific components, how they want this to work, like for example, this thing could be a side scroller. It could also stack on top of each other. That's a question, but that's an easy question that I can then just like, it doesn't change our code all too much. And I can just go to the designer afterwards and say like, hey, look, do you want this to stack? Do you want that to scroll? And they can just tell me. And they don't have to go in Figma and draw like a whole new design and so on. I think that's just a waste of resources. And so yeah, all of that said, let's look at what we have. So we now have a file where we can visually, even through the color differences, see, oh, there's a small space here, a bigger one there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. 7, cool. Here's all of the 6s, nice. Sections apparently have the 8 space on top of each other, like because that's here too, we have it here. Then this tagline is separated with a size of 6 space, though they have it too, and here you can see the difference between 5 and 6 that I've been talking about before. It's probably not important that we have both, but we can make that decision later. Anyway, and yeah, and that way you'll see when we get to the coding part that you will be super quick and very confident in applying those classes, in making those layout decisions in your code, because you don't have to, like you can measure here and use this fancy tool and say like, oh, it's 39 and here it's 71 and this is 260. That's super annoying. Like, I mean, who wants to do that? That's just tedious pixel pusher work. Sorry. And so cool. Now we have that done for spaces. And let's look at colors. In all fairness, I want to mention that I received a style guide, and part of that style guide was this list of colors. So we even have the hex values down here in a preview, and I was super pleased when I saw it. I was like, oh cool, I don't have to extract the colors and I can see right away. We have black, white, and then 4 different colorful colors that even seem to have a name, or like sometimes it's maybe even supposed to be like a hint how to use them. And then I started to glance over the site, over the design here, and I thought, hold on, the purple looks a bit different. Let's do a quick inventory. All right, and so what I did here was that I just dragged up like an empty square like that, kind of, and then just went like Control C in Figma is what you like. You select the thing, Control C, and then you get the color dropper, and then you can just go anywhere. Like you can zoom out like crazy. You can go wherever, and then just pick it. And then you have it up here. And so this is what I did with the row of those boxes right there. And why I did that is that we can see that this is right. This is the same value, hex value, same value. White, fine, sure. This is also the same, C7, C, D, F, F. Yes, that matches. The pink, same value. Okay, good. Purple, that's off. Like this one is much darker. Black. And then we have an extra color that is green, like that came from here, like those check marks are green and they were beautiful green, but just not in the style guide. And then we have like different colors of dark purple too. So we have this lighter one here that was also not mentioned in the style guide. And then like, again, like this is just fine. Like it's just, you know, get the intention, like see what you're supposed to make, and don't say stuff like, but it was the wrong color code in the style guide. Sure, it was the wrong color code, whatever. Like look at the design is what I'm saying, and see what's similar. So we can see this one's similar to that background of the toggle box, and the background of the active item is similar to that, and the check mark has the same color as here, and that's all cool. And so like what I like to do is really like to zoom out, because I don't have to be able to read all of that stuff, and then select my box here, go Control C, and just pick the colors and see up there if it changes. Like if I can see that it changes like that, then I know, oh, this color was a bit different. And then I just go through the entire file and do that, right? Like then I keep that selected, go down here, I say Control C, and it's like, yeah, still the same color. That's fine. And that way you get a super quick feel for your color inventory. Like, do you have all the colors that you're gonna need when making this design, right? And there's so interesting things, I think, color psychology wise. Like I thought this was like a very, very light shade of purple, but it's actually white. It just looks like that because it's on the beige background and it's next to a purple box. And so you have all of these effects. And that being said, I think it's an interesting exercise to go through the design and just see if, you know, is this white or is this like light purple? Do I understand how these things work? Is the pink up here? Is that the same as there? Why is the pink button over here and why is it a black one there? Like all of this stuff is you're gonna have to deal with that. And I think it's fair to say that it's upon us as front-end developers to help and build a cohesive system. Right on. So in this video, we looked at all of the basic design tokens, text, color, spacing. We identified those. We collected our findings in this area up here. In the next video that I'm going to share, I'm going to show you how to set all of that up using Tailwind. I'm going to use Tailwind just because it's vastly popular. I also like it. And I think it's a very quick way to get up and running with a theme, like with a set of values that you can reuse through your entire code base. And I'm going to show you how to define the text size and spacing tokens in a way that they're going to adapt onto different screen sizes and be fluid out of the box without any breakpoints. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.